Wednesdays with Whaley. It is Doug Whaley, and he joins right now. Good morning to you, Doug. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, you get that tease of the nice weather
Yeah.
yesterday, got some weather, some sun coming out today. It's one of those things you're like, "Yes," but you know it's not here yet. There's some more struggles to go
Yeah,
through.
Yeah,
but
there's like one goof that has the top down in his car, but the window's still up in his convertible, and but then he's also it's going to snow in like 2 days.
I'll give you a
Right?
good story.
Uh huh.
During obviously these are spring and pro days, so I go to the University of Minnesota, and it's probably 35 degrees out. And I'm walking around the campus trying to find the football office, and I see people walking around in shorts, and I saw a guy driving with his convertible, his top down. So I'm talking to the coach. I'm like, "Yo, it's only 35 degrees." He goes, "But you got to understand, just 2 days ago, it was like minus 10 degrees. So that's a 40-degree swing. Think about that. So if it's from 30 to 70, you're going to be in shorts, right?"
yeah.
I go, "Never thought about it that
Yeah.
way."
Yeah, it's all relative. It's where you are. All right. A lot of people in Indianapolis right now. That's what. Tell me exactly what happens out there and if it's necessary with most people or not. And you tell me about the interview process too, and if that's the most important part. Just go with it.
So and you're starting to see it. I think you see Kyle Shanahan's not going there. McVay's not going there. Saleh from the Jets aren't going there because what you're really understanding is that the actual workout part, you're going to watch it on film anyway, and you can do a better job of evaluating what's going on when you see it on film because it's such repeated. I mean, back to back to back. So by the time you notice a guy and say, "Oh, that's Kenny Pickett," and you look at that throw and you try to write a note on it, then Corral's going and you're trying to catch up. So the evaluation process part of it is not as important as the medical
Mm-hmm.
and the interviews. The interviews are very, very important. And then again, the medical, because you have every doctor there and they can talk about and review every single injury they've had since they started football. So those are the two most important components of the combine. Everything else, they tape it. And like I said, you watch it when you get home and be able to really critique what you see.
We'll get a story inevitably at the end of the week or early next week, I guess, once everybody's left Indy and dispersed, about some weird interview question that somebody got. Is there a method to that madness, or do some people just go into it, I don't want to say unprepared, but not knowing how to go about it and what they might be able to get out of a player in standard interview fashion, I guess?
Well, I always say scouts are our own worst enemy because we'll get some information and some proprietary information that maybe a source gave you at the school, and then you want to use it to put that player and get him off balance, get him in a position that he's uncomfortable and see how he responds, or to see if he's going to tell the truth or not. And some of that information should not be made known to that player because it's information that this coach told you in secrecy and saying, "Hey, listen, this is for you, but don't bring it up." And especially don't bring it up to the player, and definitely don't bring it up to a group of people that
Right.
don't know this information. So again, they're their own worst enemy. But a lot of times when you're in that interview setting, you're trying to see how is he going to respond when he's uncomfortable.
Do you ever catch anybody lying?
Yes, absolutely.
Take me through that. I don't need to know names.
Names, but it's like, okay, a lot of times you can catch a guy. And what we would do is we'd put film on and say, "All right, let's not talk about where you're from, how many brothers and sisters you've had." We've had scouts working for 4 or 5, a lot of times 2 years on players. So we paid them to get the character. What we want to know is how do you respond when you see film and what your football instincts and recall is all about. And a lot of times you could see a guy on film and we knew what the call was. "Well, that call is such and such." You're like, "Well, no, that's not a cover 3. That's a cover 2. He goes, well, we called it something different." So little things like that you can trip them up. And when you put film on and you say, "Hey, listen, we're going to talk ball," a lot of times think about any interview that you've been in or that you've conducted. People are real buttoned up. They're sitting straight in their chair. Their shoulders are up.
Right.
When you say, "Hey, fellas, forget all that. Let's watch ball," all of a sudden you see them slump down. Their shoulders are. They feel comfortable. And we found out we got a truer truer ability to understand what they were as a person when you just start talking football instead of start talking about them, because that's their comfort zone. That's when they let their true identity out. And I'll tell you, there's a defensive end. He's still in the league today. And we were just talking ball, and we said, hey, what do you love about making a sack? And he goes, sack's better than having sex. That's
wow.
That was like, all right, then you know this guy truly loves
football.
Loves football. So that's the type of things you can get as long as you make it a situation where people are comfortable.
How do you assess what you see in
And now
Indy?
I'm like, Myles Garrett, is Von Miller, J.J. Watt.
I mean,
let's say he's in the NFC team now.
Okay.
Now you're gonna go through the depth charts.
Maybe. Darius Smith. I mean, who do we got?
Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
He said defensive
He said
end.
Yeah.
So,
DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean,
Initials DF.
oh, okay.
Well, now we're gonna figure it out. Now it's done. Now it's on.
All right.
So, how much do you take away from Indy after you've seen everything at the combine, and then pro days start, right? So, do you say, hey, it's Indy, we got to see something, we're going to go to the pro day now and know that the pro day is sort of, it's spec'd up even more, it's mocked up even more to play to the advantages and the benefits of that player? How do you assess pro days then in the aftermath of the combine?
So the thing about the combine that we thought was really great is everybody was performing and under the same circumstances, under the same conditions in Indy. When you go to the pro day, they're at home, the turf's not the same, so it's not considered apples to apples comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the issue that I've started to struggle with, and it's become really prevalent lately, is these guys are training for these drills.
Sports specific, like
Sport,
an
yes.
IMG or something
Absolutely.
like that.
Everybody, as soon as their season's over, they're going to these training facilities, and they're training to do
So
the
Mike
short
Mamula
shuttle.
of the drills.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
So until the combine starts throwing different drills out there, it's really, to me, it's let's see how they do what they do and not really put it on the timing. And it's a big misconception out there in the media and in fans that, oh, guys, if they go out there, and even players, if he goes out there and runs a 4.4, he's going to get drafted. He's going to go from a 5th round to a 3rd round. No. What happens now is what we do is take the pro days and the combine and say, okay, player-wise, ability-wise, these guys are even. All right, let's go to the pro day. Who did what better? Let's go to the combine. Who did what better? And that just helps you stack them. It's very rarely are you going to have a guy go from the 7th round to the 3rd round off of a workout.
What's the most translatable skill? When if I'm sitting there in the stands, and it's funny, the GMs, the personnel guys, they spread out. Like they don't want to be like, it's like, who do you sit by? Who don't you? Who do you sit across? It's funny to watch that dynamic at the combine. But if I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and it's the bench press, it's the 40, it's what the shuttle run, the cone drill, whatever. What tells me the most? What do you put the most stock in at that?
For me, it was the broad jump, the long jump, broad jump, vertical jump, and the 3-cone.
Tell me why.
Broad jump and vertical jump is explosiveness. And this game and most sports are all about your core, your hips, and your explosion, and your lower half. Think about any sport you play, majority of sports you play, that's where your hay is made, from your lower body.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 3-cone, it's change of directness, quickness, body control, and athletic ability. And the most incredible thing, if you've ever seen the 3-cone run, there's one player, Darrell Revis, that did it. And so when you go around the 3rd cone, you're supposed to go around in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
He did a reverse pivot. It blew everybody's mind so much where we're like, that was the most athletic thing you could have ever done, but it's not like what we're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do, so you're going to have to do it over again. I said, why would you want him to do it over again? He just showed you that he could do it not only the right way, but a way that's not even supposed to be that way, that showed his athletic ability is far superior than if he did it the right way. That's what I'm trying to say. So a lot of times scouts are robots and saying, you have to do this perfect way, instead of saying, it's not doing the drill, it's how you do the drill. And that's what I would get out of workouts.
Did you ever, to go back to the interview part of it for just a second, did you ever have a guy that you're like, okay, I really like this guy, looking forward to talking to him, and once you got through the interview, you were like, oh, forget this, take him off the board?
Absolutely. And there's some guys that you just sit there and say, this guy is the straight BSer. He is the used car salesman of used car salesmen. And again, and that's why the interview process is so important. Not only at the combine, but when you have the 30 visits, when you bring guys in. And what we used to do in 30 visits, we'd go to a dinner. And at the dinner, it would be scouts. And if the coaches were there, we'd say, we are not talking football. The next day at the facility, it's all football. We had this restaurant where I said, all right, I want to make sure we have very attractive servers, but also every once in a while mess up an order. So I wanted to see how they really worked when something went wrong on their order. How did they respond? Were they respectful? Were they downgrading to the servers? How did they intermingle with the opposite sex, especially an attractive person that's serving you? And then also, the last part of it was we'd have every guy there, you'd get 5 minutes and give us your Pandora station. So let's see, just really get to know who they are off the field, outside of the building, outside of the guys of the head coaches and stuff. Get them in the most comfortable setting and see truly what will they be bringing to our team.